Okay then, Year 6. So what we are looking at today is this. We are learning to order fractions, decimals and percentages. So the learning that we did yesterday was really important for us to complete today's lesson effectively. So yesterday we looked at equivalent fractions, decimals and percentages, converting fractions, decimals and percentages so they were still the same size but just displaying it in the different ways, displaying it as a fraction, as a decimal or as a percentage. Today the difference in the learning is that we're looking at ordering fractions, decimals and percentages, ordering them from smallest to largest. And it's a really useful skill for you to be able to do this. Questions like this come up all the time in primary school and especially in high school, and it's just a really good life skill to be able to do as well. So that's what we're learning to do. We're looking at ordering fractions, decimals and percentages, and we'll be ordering them from smallest up to largest. So little recap from yesterday, remembering that percentages is out of 100 displayed with the percentage symbol, and we looked yesterday at equivalent decimals. That would be an equivalent decimal. An equivalent fraction is anything where the numerator and the denominator are equal. So we could do 7 over 7, that would be equivalent to this, but this could be any numerator or denominator that are identical. So just we looked at that a little bit yesterday, converting them using the place value grid, which we had down here with the ones column, the tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Okay, so this is something that we'll be using again today, but today we're looking at ordering our fractions, decimals and percentages to see if we were to compare 2 or 3, sometimes fractions, decimal, percentages, is seeing which one is larger. And it is, like I said, it is a useful skill to be able to do. So if I had three tenths, and if I had, let's do a percentage first of all, if I had 32%. Now straight away some of you will be able to see which one is larger than the other, but let's prove it. So I've got 3 tenths. Imagine I had a birthday. I've got 3 tenths of my cake and I give it off to Harvey. I give 32% of my cake to Elliot. Who is going to have more of the cake? We've got 3 tenths of the cake, 32% of the cake. Now remembering that percentage is measured out of 100. We can't accurately see what this fraction is without converting this denominator to 100. So what do we need to do to 10 to turn it into 100? We need to times it by 10. So we need to do the same to the numerator. 3 times 10 is 30. 10 times 10 is 100. Now the key to see which one is larger than the other is to now have a look at this numerator, have a look at this number 30, have a look at this number 32. Which one is larger? It is 32. And if we were to convert this percentage into a fraction, it will be 32 over 100. And you can see again, 32 is larger than 100. They've both been split into 100 parts. There are 30 here, there are 32 there. 32 is larger than 30. So therefore 32% will be bigger than 3 tenths. And can you see what we've done there? We've ordered that percentage and that fraction by knowing that the percentage is larger, only slightly larger, but it is still larger. So what we've done there, actually, we have effectively ordered them, put them in order from smallest to largest, or just identifying which one is the larger one. So if we were to have a look at the decimal, now if I had 0.4, this is my decimal, and if I had a percentage, if I had 40% there. So some of you will be looking at that now and be able to see the answer straight away, which is great. That means your learning already is very strong from what we've done previously. But let's have a look at converting these. So if we were to write this in here, it'd be 0.4. Going into the tenths column, so we could put it into a fraction. Percentage is measured out of 100, so this would have to be multiplied by 10 to turn it into 40 over 100. And we can see now percent is measured out of 100. This denominator is 100 as well. So we've got 40 over 100 as a fraction and 40%, and you can see those numbers are identical. So 0.4 is equivalent to 40%, which is equivalent to 40 over 100. So these ones actually could not be ordered because they're identical in size. Right, let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at 13 over 50 or 13%. Now straight away you can see we've got the two numbers here are identical, 13 over 50 or 13%. So it might initially make you think, oh, they're the same size again. However, they're not. The reason being is this 50 is not yet 100. Remember, percent is measured out of 100. So what do I need to do to this 50 to turn it into 100? Hopefully you've all spotted that needs to be times by 2 to turn it into 100. Remembering to make sure it's an equivalent fraction, the 13 also has to be times by 2. 13 times by 2 is 26. Now we can compare them accurately. Now this has been split up into 100 parts, just like this one has. So this as a percentage would be 26%. We could also have put this the other way. We could have put this percentage into a fraction by making it 13 over 100. And then if we were to compare these two, you can see that 26 is bigger than 13, so this is the larger one. Or if you were to compare these two, you can see that 26 is bigger than 13 here. So you can see this is the bigger one. So going back to the original question, which is larger, 13/50ths or 13%, you can see it is 13/50ths. It's actually double in size. So that is comparing two fractions, decimals or percentages. What would we do if we had all three of them now, if we were to order them, all three of them? So if I were to have 17 over, let's make it 100 first of all, let's not go too difficult first of all, and then if I was to have 71%, and then if I were to have 0.7. So I've got my fraction, I've got my decimal, and I've got my percentage, and I want to see which one of these is largest, which one is the largest, which one is the smallest. Now quite often you get questions that look a little bit like this, and you can see they've all got a 7 in them. These two have also both got a 1 in them. Now the reason that is being done is it makes you think a little bit harder rather than just straight away looking at the numbers and seeing which one is larger, which one is smaller. Now some of you already would have been able to see these to put them into an order, but let's go through the process that we would do for this. So it's up to you whether you are going to choose to turn them all into a decimal, you're going to choose to turn them all into a percentage, or you're going to choose to turn them all into a fraction, fractions, decimals or percentages. It's up to you which one you turn them into, whichever one you feel most comfortable with. Now we've been doing fractions for a long time, so let's put them all into a fraction first of all. So this is already 17 over 100 parts, which percentage is measured out of. So as a fraction, that will be 71 over 100. If I was to put this into a fraction now, if I was to put 0.7 in here, we can see that it has gone into the tenth column, so it would be 7/10. If we wanted to really accurately compare these two, I could turn that into 70 over 100. Now I've got these three fractions and I'll just line them all up together. I've got 17 over 100, I've got 71 over 100, and I've got 70 over 100. So looking at these, we can now compare them because the denominators are all the same. So the smallest one, 17 is the smallest number. So this would be the smallest one. Then we can compare these two numbers. Which numbers is the smallest? Compare 70 and 71. This is the second smallest, meaning that is the largest. So looking back at the original question here, 17 over 100 is the smallest, 0.7 is the next smallest, and then 71% is the largest. So you can see there what I've done. I've converted them all into percentages, into fractions, sorry, and then we have compared the numerators. Right, so let's have a go at another one with all three fractions, decimals, and percentages. So if I had, now let's do 20 over 25, 25% and 0.52. Now again, this is one of those questions that you see quite often, and you see again, lots of the numbers are very, very similar. Each one has got a 2 and a 5 in, which makes it not as clear straight away to convert them. So the first thing that we want to try to do is to try to change them all into a percentage, change them all into a decimal, or to change them all into a fraction. Now in this case it'd be easy to turn them all into a fraction because the fraction needs some work doing to it anyway. We need to turn it into 100. So 25, what can we do to turn that into 100? We need to times it by 4. How many 25s go into 100? 25, 50, 75, 100. Times it by 4. We need to do the same to the numerator then, don't we? 20 times by 4 is 80. And already we can begin to compare these. If I was to put 25% into a fraction as well, it would be 25 over 100, which lets you know is equivalent to a quarter as well. If I was to put 0.52 go into the hundreds column into a fraction as well, it would be 52 over 100. And now, because the denominators are all identical to each other, we can compare these. Which of these numbers is the smallest? Well, it's clearly 25, so that is the smallest. Which one is the next smallest? It's 52. 80 is the largest. So going back to this original question here, comparing 20 over 25, 25% and 0.52, you can see 25% is the smallest, 0.52, just over half, is the next one, and then the largest one is 20 over 25. So I will give you one to have a go at yourself now with you pausing the video. Okay, so if I gave you 18 over 200, if I gave you 18%, and if I gave you 0.81. Right, could you have a go at that amount? To pause the video, see if you can order the fractions, the decimals and the percentages. Okay, so let's begin to solve this. Now, straight away you might be able to see, particularly these two, that 18% and 0.81. Hopefully you can see that this is larger, because that is this one as a percentage will be 81%, and you can see 81 is bigger than 18. So what we'll do with this one, we will convert them all into their respective percentage, decimals and fractions. So this as a decimal will be 0.18. This fraction needs a little bit of work though, because we need to get this 200 into 100. So it needs to be made smaller, it needs to be half, doesn't it? Halving is the same as dividing by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So 9 100ths, as if we were to then compare these. If we were to put 18% into a fraction, if we were to put this into a fraction, it would go 0.81. It's gone into the hundreds, so it would be 81 over 100. And now we can compare these fractions. If I was also to put this into a decimal, it would be 0.09, and as a percent, it would be 9%. So I've covered all the bases there, depending how you've done it, whether you convert them into a fraction first, a decimal, or a percentage. So let's have a look across the middle here, because all these fractions have got a denominator of 100, and you can see they're actually in order already from smallest to largest. 9 is the smallest number because we're looking at the numerator. 9 is the smallest number, 18 is the middle number, 81 is the largest number. So they're actually in order, ascending order already. So we will have one more go of these before you have a go at some yourself. Okay, so I'll have a look at three more of these. So if we were to look first of all at 41 over 50, and let's have a look at 80%, and let's have a look at 0.41. So looking at these three, so straight away you can see, can't you, that the 41 over 50 and 0.41, those numbers, the 41s are identical, which might make you think that they are the same. They're not though. So you might want to pause the video there, see if you can order those fractions, decimals and percentages. Okay, so let's put this fraction into a denominator we can work with. So once we try to turn it into 100, don't we? Just like the lesson we were doing yesterday. So it'll be times by 2. It'll be doubled. And we need to do the same with this. 41 times by 2 is 82. And then if we were to put this into a percentage, it'd be 82%. If I was to write this in here, it would be 0.82 as a decimal. If I was to convert this percentage into a fraction, it would, looking at this, so it would be 80 over 100. If I was to then put that into a decimal, looking at in here, split them into 80 parts, so it'd be 0.80. Remember that 0 doesn't need to be there. So you can see here that I've converted this into a fraction and a decimal, and I converted this into a percentage and a decimal. So let's put this into a fraction and a percentage as well. So 0.41, it's gone into the hundreds column, so it would be 41 over 100, or 41%. And now you can compare across the three. So if we were to look at the three percentages, we've got 82%, 80% and 41%. You can see here, this will be the smallest because 41 is smaller than these two numbers. 80 will be the next, and 82 is the largest. And you can look again, if we were to look at the fractions now, 41 is smaller than 80, which is smaller than 82. And if we were to look at the decimals, 41 is smaller than 80, which is smaller than 0.82. So there are some questions for you to have a go at Year 6 on Google Classroom. Once you've completed them, send them back to your teacher. Thanks a lot, Year 6. Bye-bye.